Hello, welcome to another video.
In this video, I'll share my findings on the MiSTer.ini settings, mainly for the ao486 core. Also a few MiSTer OSD core settings you shouldn't touch when using a CRT. But first the hardware I'm using.
I'm going to talk about my Luma Chroma adapter. It's a passive adapter. I recommend using the active adapter. I have this one. It works very well. I've shown you how it works in a few videos. I want to do a video about the hardware. So we have the VGA that goes into your MiSTer, and we need an extra mini jack for your audio because audio doesn't go through the VGA. And from VGA we go to the S-Video. S-Video is actually just two signals. It's the Luma and the Chroma signal. That's for your video. And together they combine it and make this beautiful colored screen on your CRT. We have two switches. One is the Luma trap and the other is the DV enable, this direct video. We're not going to use the direct video because we have CRT. So this is the left side of the cable, and then we go to the other side. Here we have the SCART cable, all these pins. I have made a layout of the connection for this thing on the inside. It actually has a switch here, so you can put it into input or output. We're going to use it as input for our TV. It's going to be set to in. The red cable composite is for stereo right, and this one is for stereo left. So these two are purely the audio from the mini jack on the other side. And here's the S-Video cable, and only we need the Chroma and the Luma. They go inside here. I'll show you the schematics of the inside of this thing.
Here we have the layout of the SCART and the S-Video cable. I removed the in and out switch from the schematics to keep it simple. At the bottom is the S-Video connector. Pin 1 of the SCART is for the right side of the audio, red, and 3 is for the left side of the audio, white. And the ground for those two is combined on pin number 4 of the SCART. Pin 1 and 2 of the S-Video connector are the ground. So we will have the pin number 1, that's the ground for the Luma, and pin number 2 is the ground for the Chroma. Pin number 3, that's the Luma that goes to 19. Pin number 4 from the S-Video that goes to 15, and that's the Chroma, the color information.
That's all it is. We plug this into the TV, European TV, and that's it. Now I also want to show you something else very important when you're using an adapter like this. You need to have the settings set correctly in your console. We need to do one Sega Master System, SMS. We'll use this one example. You can use things like scan doublers. Oh, it also starts with R-type. Do a shooter. Alien Syndrome. Ooh, scary. And if we set a scan doubler, oh here, audio and video. Wow. We have a TV. It's actually an European television. It's a PAL television, but since I'm using this adapter with this card, it also acts like an NTSC. So I could set it to PAL. It would look differently, as you can see. But I can also set it to NTSC, and it will set everything straight. So that's cool. So I have no problem with NTSC, although I'm using a European. But you can see the colors are just a little bit different. You just check very closely. Look at the yellow and the red. What I want to show you, if you change this setting you will not get any screen on your CRT. Always check with your LCD TV that this is set to none. If I now push the button on my controller to go to the next, the screen goes black. Whoop! This affects the output to the CRT. The analog signal cannot process this. I have a LCD next to here so I can see what's going on. And it's now CRT 75%. And now it's back to none. If you save these settings with CRT 50% and you say save and you start up this core the next time and you think, hey, all my cores work for consoles except for this one, then check if you have scan doubler set to none. Hey, I do have screen now. This is new. I never had that. I don't know how this works, but as you can see now it does appear on the screen. You don't want this. But this doesn't happen all the time. Most of the times the screen just goes black, like this. So just set it to none. And the cropping, you can enable it and you can crop whatever you want, but nothing will happen here. Scale, normal. This is all digital stuff. It will not do anything on an analog screen. So just keep it at normal, or it doesn't matter what you keep it. You can set it for your LCD TV, what you like. I mostly go for normal. And borders. Do you need borders? No, you don't need borders. Also no effect on the mask, the left corner cut. You can see it only affects the OSD. The OSD is affected by this, so it probably widens the screen when you use cut. Let's set this to BG. That's background. So these settings also need to be set correctly. Let's check if he also does it with PAL. That's interesting. If I now do scan doubler, will it still show 50/50 screen again? Oh, yeah, just a sec. And then it was gone. So now, that's the thing I discovered. Now there's still these old computers I want to check. Some of them work, like Apple II. What also works, oh okay, let's try game, I don't know, Alf, The First Adventures of Alf. See, it works. That's cool. And that's why I hate it, that my DOS is my hallelujah. And yeah, it just doesn't do anything. The one that does work, that's the Mini MiG, aka Amiga. This one works. We have this nice menu with all my favorite games. I made my own setup for this. It's nice to make a setup for yourself, but it's a lot of work. So here I have the alphabetical order, like everybody does, but I created an all genres. So again, I made a list of all genres and put all the games in here. This took a lot of work. What I want to show is we can go here. Here we have the configs. I have the main, that's this one. That's for my CRT. I also have this one, CRT, but that's the PC CRT. And then there's the DOS. So shall we try it? We'll reset computer, load the DOS, and well, as you can see, it does load the Amiga, only not in color. That's weird. Let's do a reset. Now I'm going to try the DOS. It says it has errors unknown. What if I do Well, there's something in the settings, graphic settings, that he doesn't like. Hey, something's happening. Now, it does work. These are all demos with ANSI art. Alien Carnage. Start it up. The settings for this game were set to small. No color. That's the second thing. But the graphics look good. I mean, so I'll show you the text file for the MiSTer.ini, and yeah, from there on we'll change the settings and test this again and see if we can get a better view. You see all the colors are in gray, and you can see it's only using a small part of my screen. This should be fixable.
Well, let's look at the MiSTer.ini files. On the right here we have our main MiSTer.ini. It's pretty long. One thing I directly see, this is the DOS ini, and directly I noticed these two. I added these two for the S-video adapter. They're not in this configuration of DOS. We need to add these. That's one thing. Also important is that this one is set to 1. That's a check, so that's cool. Another thing I found, that was the video mode. Here it's set to 0, and here it's not set at all. If you don't set it, MiSTer will look for proper video mode itself. Direct video. Now what I want to show is, we have this one, and we have this one. They're set to 1, and this one's set to 0. It's done again in the ao486 score. 1 and 0. Actually, these aren't necessary because it's already set to direct video is 1 and v-scale is 0. Somehow it's repeated here. It's not really necessary. But here's the difference. Direct video 1 and here it's 0. That's the main thing, but that still doesn't explain why it does display here and it doesn't display here. Because as you can see, Mini-Mig, I also have a Mini-Mig configuration, and that one works. It also uses v-scale mode 0. Only it says v-sync adjust 2. Maybe we need to play with that one. Maybe this is an important one. We don't need direct video is 1 because we're not using the HDMI port. So this one can be set to 0. We have v-sync adjust. Let's see what that does. V-sync adjust is set to 0. So that could also be a thing. So this one's important. And v-scale mode, well, it should be set to 0 because it's done the same here. So let's check those things out, see if we can change this part a little bit to the Mini-Mig, because this one works. Another thing I discovered is that reading is very important. I'll show you a website. It's the Michael Simone page. You go to the Michael Simone GitHub for the YC encoder. Here we have 2 links. Here's the history of his work. I just want to know what cores are working. Here he has a list. Cores tested, his list. These all work now. Can't find the ao486. Initial release in 2002. The same list and added some new ones. Here too. Val bug fixed. Apple MSX work and 18 arcade cores. There's no ao486 in this list. So it could be that we'll never get color screen with this device. The Mini-Mig isn't in here as well, the Amiga core, but that one's working. Now, he also had an Excel sheet where he discusses all things he tested. Wow, this is a big list. We have the MiSTer FPGA clock frequency list, Chroma Luma UT calculation. And all the cores he has tested are in this list. Here another core timing list. This is the short version. And here you can check all the things he tested. So it's fantastic. And let's see the core list. These are all the arcade cores, console cores, and computer cores. Core tuning correction. Here it says not available. So I guess it's not possible. But the Amiga has nothing. Not yes, not available. So there are some computer cores that work. Atari STE. I want to check that one too, because that's also a core that's more for monitor CRTs. Let's check that. Hey, wait, you see that? The Mini-Mig. It's in this list here. Probably the ao486 core doesn't work. I'll make a new MiSTer.ini for DOS, and then we're gonna test it.
After a lot of tweaking and hours of testing of many different MiSTer.inis, I made a few conclusions.
VSync adjust above 0 kills LCD, so you will mostly not get a LCD visual. VGA scaler 1 only works with direct video is 1. Don't ask me how this works, but it works. And you can use direct video is 1 as well without VGA scaler is 1. I don't know exactly what that changes on the analog side via S video. If you use too much V-scale borders, the pixels will get chopped too much and the screen will get too wide.
Okay, I've accepted that I can display color on this CRT for the ao486 core with this YC adapter for S-Video and this CRT. That's okay. I have a CRT for my PC and the LCD TV that work and that do display color for these cores. What's left to do is try to get a good full screen in black and white though on the CRT as a last resort, okay? While going through all these different settings, I learned that you can toggle a lot of options and tinker with a lot of values. Here's what I found. Correct me if I'm wrong. Also, I did one more update all before this last test. I've stored 4 settings for my ao486 in the MiSTer.ini settings.
These are the INI settings I will show you. This is all main, and this will never change for all the settings I try. The only thing that changes per settings is this part that starts with ao486 between square brackets. So I have a main, the DOS-G, the DOS-M, and the DSH. And they all have different video modes. Most of them have the same scale mode, and one doesn't use the scale mode, only a V-scale border. We're gonna step through these 4 settings on the CRT.
Let's start with the first one I found. Just do main. We're going to do main. So we're going to go to the core we need. The core we need is DOS, of course. So here we go. ao486. This looks pretty good. What I can show you and what you see is we have borders at the bottom here. There are borders and a little bit at the top. That's one thing. Then we have the second one. It's version G. The borders are less, just a little bit at the bottom and the same at the top as the previous one, only it's a lot wider. You can read the text a little bit better, but you're missing some here and you're missing some on the other side. So that's not what we want either. Then we have version M. This is the first one that has a nice full screen. Everything is visible on the screen and a pretty nice sight. There are still some borders on the left, right, bottom and top. The top a lot more, but this is pretty workable. Also, I'll show you when you play a game, you don't have these pixel losses here because DOS always uses rectangular pixels and a CRT doesn't like that. He wants to display square pixels. The rectangular pixels from the DOS CRT PC, they are incorrectly transformed on this CRT. It just chops off the pixels. And then we have SH. So this is the very last one that also is pretty nice. It looks like it's a little bit more to the upper right corner somehow. You can move things to the left and to the right a little bit by tweaking the mode lines. That's a long story. Wanted to keep this video short, but it's you need to toggle so many things. I'm going crazy sometimes when trying all these settings. This one also looks nice. It says beat 'em up. You can hardly read it. The important thing is that the rectangular pixels from the DOS can't be well translated, sort of, to a CRT that's meant for television and NES or other console types. I want to go through a few do's and don'ts. Oh yeah, what I didn't show you was why was the screen so small the previous time. It was so small because of a setting, and it's a setting in the video, audio and video. Here we have aspect ratio. It was set to original, so that's why the screen was as thin as this. That's better. Let's start up that same game. It was Alien Carnage, if I'm correct. Well, this looks very good now. Only in black and white. Yeah, too bad. Let's check the full screen. This really looks good. Oh yeah, every time you see the video info in the corner, that means DOS has moved to another display resolution. Medium. Mission 1, the sewers. It moves too fast. That's the only bad thing. So we need to...
While DOS-G has the fullest and largest screen, it's a bit too much, and DOS-M is good within the boundaries, and main and DSH are just a little bit smaller. These settings only work for my CRT. Each CRT has its own settings, so this is a JVC TV, but on a Sony TV you probably have to change the settings. So you really need to fiddle with the settings and toggle with switches to get the perfect screen. I checked most of these settings from the forum on the MiSTer FPGA, and this was the one that came the closest. I tried to alter it just a little bit with the mode lines you can enter into a website. If you want to set the settings, you need to toggle and tinker with the values yourself. So good luck with that. I'm sorry, I can't. There's no gold path that will guide you straight to your target. You have to do a trial and error to get your perfect screen settings. If you have any tips on how to set up resolution with video mode for a CRT, please leave a comment. Bye.